Hey guys, what's going on? In this video, I'm going to be giving a tutorial on how to make my LED Nightwing batons. Now this is a pretty special video because probably around 5 years ago, I made another tutorial on how to make Nightwing's batons. But those were made with Home Depot supplies like PVC pipes and like plumbing pieces. But that video has done really well over the last few years, and every time I go to a convention, at least one person comes up to me and mentions that video or one of the other videos I used to post when I put a lot of tutorials out. But even when I'm walking around and I see Nightwing cosplayers, if I look at their sticks and I can see, how they put them together, I can tell they used that video. And that's really, really cool. So I wanted to come full circle and do a tutorial on my own original design. These are all modeled and 3D printed by me. They're wired by me, and I really love these things, and I can't wait to get into how I made them. These originally started out as non-LED versions. They were one of the first original props I started selling. It was basically the same design, except the tip part had like a painted blue interior, so it didn't light up, but it still had that blue look to it. But I always knew I wanted to put LEDs in them, and so once I got a little bit better with 3D modeling, I figured out how to do that. A lot of the credit for the LED setup for this goes to this guy. I think his name is Sean. He is an amazing costume creator. He works with foam a lot, and he is like a foam god. But one of his videos that I came across was how to make LED Nightwing sticks, and he used plumbing supplies too, like PVC pipes and stuff. But he used a really great idea, which was using like cheap LED flashlights, gutting them out, and using those components to rewire the insides. And that's exactly what I've been doing. When I was designing these sticks, I really wanted them to be my own design. I took inspiration from a few different places, but for the most part, I kind of just winged it. I really wanted to work in some fun textures. As you can see here, there's this knurling texture that I really wanted to add to these. And it continues up at the top as well. I just wanted a design that was 100% mine. The texturing really hides the fact that these are 100% 3D printed, so I don't need to go in and sand them every time because, from far away you can't even really tell. The best part about them is that they're cheap to make. The filament that goes into these, it really doesn't take that much since they're hollow, and like I mentioned before, the flashlights that I use on the interior, they're $1. So $2 for a set of flashlights for these, and a little bit of filament, and that's it. But without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. So for supplies, I'll be using the 3D printed parts for the sticks, the cheap flashlights, super glue, a hot glue gun, sports tape and electrical tape, these plastic vials from Amazon, a spool of wire, a soldering iron and solder, some pliers, I recommend these, and one of these things. So when taking apart the flashlight, the components that you're going to want to use are the battery pack, obviously. You can throw away this spring and this little metal piece. You're going to want the LEDs, of course. I like to keep the little housing they're in, this little silver part. And then you're also going to remove the back part, and this is where the switch is, right here. So you could just get some pliers, come in here, and this should twist out. Okay. You're going to want the little rubber piece, the little rubber button. And then this part right here, all you need is the switch. So this housing that it's in is not necessary. So I just kind of take it off, get in here, kind of to take this little metal piece off the top. And then you should see a little metal tab right there. I just bend that up and push it down, and the switch should come out. You don't need the spring or this plastic part. You can get rid of that, and then you're left with the switch with the two ends, the two metal ends. the button, and then I keep the little plastic clear piece that goes over the LEDs because I tint this blue, which makes the light blue. So in all, you can get rid of all the excess flashlight pieces. You don't need that stuff. You need the batteries, the LEDs, the button, the switch, and the little plastic part if you want to. So I first started by gluing together the main parts of the sticks that need to be together to start. And then I took the LED lights and I first removed the spring from each of them. Then I cut 2 strips of the wire a little bit longer than the full length of the main body. And I soldered the positive wire to where the spring was and the negative wire to the outside area. Alright, so now that those 2 ends are soldered on to each of the little LED bits, I'm going to take the top section of the sticks and I've modeled in a little area where the LEDs are going to sit. It's a little housing for it. So I'm going to bring back in that little silver cover for the LEDs that came in the flashlight, and then I'm going to slide the wires down into the handle so it's like this, and they come out the end. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue like in here, put the housing down inside just like that, and it should fit pretty flush in there. Alright, so now that both of those are in there, as you can see, this is when I bring back those little clear pieces from the flashlight. And this part is pretty basic, but honestly, I glue these onto the end and then I color them in with a blue Sharpie. And it really does the trick. It really gives them a nice, deep but bright blue color. So I'll just glue them onto the top and then I'll show you how I color them in. So then after that's glued on, I literally just take a blue Sharpie. This is one that has like a little like a flat end to it, and I literally just go in and I color the whole thing like this, and then I go around the edge as well so that none of the white light leaks out. Just like that. You can see it's all blue. What I recommend doing whenever you're wiring something is constantly check your work. So I'm going to do that right now and I'll show you what the light looks like. So I'll just take, the 2 ends of the wire down here, strip the ends off. This isn't going to matter in the long run. I just do this to check my work halfway through. And then take your battery, positive, negative, and there you go. See? Nice and blue. So you can see that's pretty flush. This is all covered up by the end of the stick anyway, so you won't see any of this, but I still try to keep it looking pretty clean. So now that all the wires are hanging out from the bottom, what I do is I cut the positive wires so there's a little bit of excess. Then I take the 2 switches and I put some solder on each of them, on both sides. Then I solder those excess positive wires to the shorter side of the switch. And then because I glue these in place, there's a little gap on the switch that could get filled with glue. So what I do is I cut a little strip of electrical tape, leaving a little hole for the button on the switch to fit through, and I just wrap that around it so that will keep all the glue from getting inside of it and possibly messing it up. Then I take the 2 handles to start the next step. So after the little switches are all set up and wired on one side, the little rubber buttons are going to come back into play. I'm going to set up the handles now. So basically, I take the little button and I set it in here, and then I slide this back into there, and then I hold this in place with my finger, and I kind of adjust it because this is where the switch is going to be for the sticks. And so I just kind of move it around until it's in the right spot. And then what I do is I kind of take this and I fold it over so I can so it like holds its spot, because this is sticking out at the bottom down here, and I secure this part first with some glue. And then I can work on securing the switch inside of here. So I'll do that and then show you what that looks like. So I just glued that wire in down here while I'm working on this. That way it's not sliding all around while I'm trying to secure it. So basically what I do for this part is you can see the switch and the button are in place, and I basically just glue this around to the inside of the handle. Probably a better way of doing this. I could probably remodel the handle to where there's a slot where this switch can slide in. But honestly, once it's glued in, it's never popped out. I've never heard anyone tell me that their buttons have fallen out. So I'll glue this in place and then show you what that looks like. So there it is, it's glued in place. Put a lot of glue in there, and then when it's about to be dry, I kind of squish it with my finger, like I push it really close to the button, the rubber part, and then it's secure. It's not going anywhere, it's not moving, works great. So I'm gonna do the other one now. Next, what I do is I take the other parts of the sticks, and I take the positive wires and I strip the ends, and then basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna solder the ends of these to the ends of the handles that I left exposed from before. So like tip of this part, we soldered onto here. So let's check our work one more time before we glue everything together. Bring the battery in, okay. Try the switch. Look at that. Perfect. Now we can glue it all together. So now I just take the negative wire and I run it through the handle, comes out the bottom, and then I kind of fold this up and compress it into here, and then I glue this. So then you have the excess wire coming out the bottom, and then I super glue these two pieces together. Now all the wiring that's left to do is just wiring the ends to the batteries. So it's pretty plain and simple. You wire the negative end to the negative and the positive wire to the positive. What I do is the battery gets put up inside the handle, so those areas where I had glued the red wire to secure it when I was gluing the button, I just removed that glue. It doesn't need to be held in place anymore. But I keep the positive wire the length that it is, but I trim the negative wire because it's going to be put inside and it's a snug fit, so excess wire is going to make it hard to shove it in there. If it's wired up like this, there's going to be a whole bunch of excess negative wire here. So I trim the negative wire so that it's shorter than the positive, just so that it's an easier fit. You'll see what I mean. Alright, so the batteries are attached, the sticks are completely fully wired up. They're both working fine, as you can see. And now all I do is I just stick the battery compartments up inside the handle, like so. And then the little caps, the end caps that I printed out, just fit on the bottom with friction. And there they are. Next, we need to make the tips of the sticks, the part where the light is going to shine through. And for that, I use these little plastic vials that are really cheap on Amazon. I literally just take the little metal things off and I cut off these parts, the little threaded areas, so you're just left with the clear tube. And then I sand it down with like a fairly coarse sandpaper just to really disperse the light throughout the end. And it looks really, really great when that's all done. So I'll show you what that looks like. They end up looking like this. I tried using like a matte clear spray paint, but this was the best method for getting like a really nice frosted look that disperses the light evenly. So now I'll bring in the tips of the batons and the little tubes, and I will slide them inside like so. Secure them in there with a little bit of glue. Okay. Then I'll take the sticks and I'll slide them on the end like so. On the handles of these, I have some ridges modeled in. I was inspired by the Nightwing sticks from the first Injustice game. I really like the look of these like individual little grip lines along the handle. So that's where the athletic tape comes in. I'm just gonna take some of this, cut it into strips that fit along the handles, and then these things will be done. I finished these off with a little silver dry brushing, and they're done. So guys, that was how to make LED Nightwing batons. Hopefully you learned something out of this video. It was really fun to make this, and again, come full circle on going from, you know, using PVC pipes to now designing, wiring, and creating from scratch my own design for Nightwing sticks. It's really, really cool, and hopefully this is a cool showcase of how my skills have advanced over the last few years. I was just in C2E2 in Chicago this past weekend, and it was an absolute blast. A few people came up to me and showed their appreciation for my YouTube videos, which is always crazy to me. It's such a like surreal thing to realize that like my videos, my content have had such an impact on people. I really, really appreciate when anyone does that. But many people mention my YouTube videos, and you know, between being with my cosplay friends and having these new costumes that I had worked on and I was showing them off, it really made me want to jump headfirst back into making YouTube content consistently. Thanks for everybody that has stuck with this channel, supported me. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.